Okay, we're plugged into the right piece of equipment. Apprehension, Part 1. After services, the family wanted to go straight home, but John insisted on first stopping by the market at the old fire station. It's important, is all that he would say, so they dropped in. Even with the news of the nuclear confrontation, there was still considerable activity at the tables. Folks still got to eat, he observed. Y'all watch the bikes for a few minutes. This won't take long. He walked into the selling area, scanning the tables. Nearby, one dealer had a radio set to the classical station, which was playing Carmina Burana, which he disliked because the music always put him in a Gotterdammerung state of mind. Eventually, he fetched up at the feed dealer's table. A woman looking to be a few years older than he was at the board, counting out quarters from a bag and weeping softly. This struck his curiosity. What is... Okay, the lighting's bad. Sorry about that. It just looks weird. I don't know what the deal is. It's probably the phone lighting. Weeping softly. This struck his curiosity, so he counted the stacks of 4 that she put on the table, 16, as the dealer loaded a 50-pound bag of layer pellets into the little red flyer wagon she was pulling. After she'd left, he turned to the dealer and spoke. $16 is pretty steep for a bag of layer pellets, isn't it, Bill? The feed man gave him a short smile and replied, "Just capitalism at work, John. Feed's mighty short right now. This will be the first time in years that I've done well in this business." John nodded his head. "There's a lot of intangibles in business, though. I hope you'll do okay after things get back to normal. The family's waiting, so I'd best finish my business with you from last market day so we can get home." He untied a sack and reached inside to pull out a brick of Winchester Super X-22 ammunition. "Been meaning to speak with you about that, John," the dealer said as he eyed the ammunition. "What with the attack and all, our original bargain may need to be renegotiated." His customer pulled out a second brick of ammunition, a third, then reached into his pocket for some coinage. 36 1964 silver dimes and stacked them on the table. He dropped his voice into a deeper register and put some volume into it as he replied, "Bill, you and I made a bargain in good faith last market day. I'm here to keep my end of it." A dealer at a neighboring table and the customers in front of him and the table on the other side turned to look at them. "Are you going to keep your word or not?" Bill opened his mouth to reply, then realized that customers and dealers were looking at him as the surrounding burble of conversation faded. He hesitated a moment, then said, "Why, sure, John, sure. We made a deal and we'll keep it. I was just talking, that's all." He reached into a box under the table and pulled out 5 white plastic bottles with veterinary labels. "Here they are, just like we agreed." "That's an awful lot. What are you going to do with it all?" In a tone that did not encourage further discussion, his customer replied, "Going to be a cold winter, and I expect I'll be needing it. Thank you, Bill. It's been a pleasure to do business." He put the bottles into the sack, retied it, and walked back to his awaiting family. As he put the sack into his dry bag and tied it on, Ann asked, "Did you get whatever it was you needed that couldn't wait? What was it, anyway?" John replied, "Veterinary antibiotics off of Luke's list," then mounted and started riding. They'd made it about a mile out of town and the clouds were threatening rain when a woman stepped out on the road and flagged them down. John didn't know her name, but he recognized her as one of the folks who'd showed up at Skunk Bend the day before to join in their confrontation with Captain Swift's troops. "Morning, Deputy Horn," she shouted. "Could I have a word with you?" The word deputy in connection with his name still sounded strange to John, and he suspected it would for a while yet. He briefly considered asking her to use the title constable instead, but decided that sounded even worse. "Yes, ma'am," he replied. "What can I do for you? I'm afraid we weren't introduced yesterday at our little fracas." "Oh," the woman said, "we weren't, were we? I'm Nancy Tearsdale. My husband John works at the archery plant. Well, it did anyways. I wonder if you could help us with a problem." John nodded. "Well, I don't know, Mrs. Tearsdale. I reckon you'd better tell me what it is." "Well," she said, "it's like this. We keep hens, and my little girl raises rabbits for 4-H. But lately we're having a terrible time with dogs trying to get in and kill our animals. They haven't called him back to work yet, so John's been trying to find what work he can and can't always be here to shoot them. We've got a .22 rifle, but I'm afraid neither I or my daughter Brittany are much good with it. Everyone in the neighborhood has been having a time with the creatures. Isn't there something that can be done?" He paused to consider for a moment, then said, "Yes, ma'am. We're all having a bad time with feral dogs. My dad's got quite a collection of pelts going from the ones that we've killed alone. With things being the way they are, pretty near everyone in the county with a dog is probably run out or is running out of feed, and they're just letting them go rather than killing them. If they can't find anything to eat in town, they'll naturally gravitate out here into the country and kill whatever livestock or wildlife they can to stay alive. The county does have an animal control office, but I suspect if they're still functioning at all, they're completely overwhelmed. What I suggest you do is to reinforce your rabbit cages, hen house, and yard as best you can. How old is your daughter?" With a look of concern, the woman replied, "She's 12. Why?" "Then, ma'am," John continued, "I keep her in the yard where you can watch her close unless you or your husband are with her. A pack of starving feral dogs might not try a full-grown man or woman, but they're only going to get hungrier and hungrier, and they might just try a child. I need to discuss this with a few folks first, then maybe we'll be able to do something to relieve the situation. If we come up with a plan, I'll be sure to get the word out. Thank you, Deputy Horn. Sure hope we'll hear from you soon." John remounted his bike. "We'll do what we can, Mrs. Tearsdale. I'll be sure to let you know," and rode off. The clouds were lowering and getting darker.